Joining us now to discuss how exactly we combat tragedies like this is former school principal and education expert Adam Voigt. Adam, what is it about Dolly's story, do you think, that has affected us all so much?
Georgie, I think it's the cost. I think that, there are many things that we talk about in our communities and in our families and in our schools that are kind of frivolous, but when we don't get bullying right, the cost is incredibly high. What we need to be aware of is clearly that inactivity, weak activity, the wrong activity is going to cost us in a currency that we really don't want to be paying in, and so that's why we have to take instances like this incredibly seriously, and we have to learn lessons.
Craig's video has really touched a lot of people. What did you make of it?
I think the thing that stands out in Craig's video, but also in the messages that come not only from people like Dolly, but also other young people that have chosen to take their lives, is the encouragement that they give us to reach out. What we know about victims of bullying is that their capacity to be able to do something about it, to overcome it, is often dependent on their own resilience. And resilience young people have extensive support networks, which means that when they have a problem that comes along, either at school or in family or in their street, there's always someone that they can go and talk to. And even in Craig's video, he says, look, if you don't know anyone, ring me, talk to me. And I think that what we want to do is always give our young people the impression and indeed the confidence to know that when things are bad, when things you can't see a way out, that there's always someone you can talk to.
Adam, this is awful. It's also far too common. How do we at least try and stop this from happening again?
The first thing we've got to do is realise that if there is an antidote to bullying, it's empathy. Cracking down really hard and booting kids out of schools and getting really punitive might make us feel good for a while, but all we really do is drive it underground. What we have to do is to start exposing kids to a school community culture that encourages, promotes and indeed sort of manifests empathy every single day, every single moment. And we can get to work on that if we're really serious about it.
So if a parent thinks that their child is being bullied, what can they do about it?
I think the first thing to do is to check in on whether it really is bullying. So there are three conditions that make it bullying. Number one is that it has to be repeated. Secondly, it has to be about power. And thirdly, it has to be doing harm. And if it's doing those three things, then yes, collect as much information as you can. Ask your young person really calm questions so that they feel confident to give you the real answers. And then get down to the school and work in partnership with them. You have a common goal, which is for this to stop. And so when parents and schools get into an adversarial relationship around this and try to blame each other for it, we don't achieve that goal. Work together on this. It's incredibly important.
Thanks so much for your time tonight, Adam. It's much appreciated.
No problem.
And I'm sure Dolly's family, in honouring Dolly, if you feel comfortable, you could talk to your children about Dolly, her story and what she would be going through, and actually talk about the issue with them.
Yeah, and I really like Craig's piece of advice, which is that you've got to understand where bullies are coming from as well. So what are the issues with them? Don't exclude them, make them part of the process. That to me is so important, and the dialogue between everyone is really important too.
As a parent, I imagine it must be pretty difficult to navigate all of this, either if your kid's being bullied or is the bully as well.
Look,
I think a bit of both.
Yeah, look, I think all little kids have their moments, but I think the key thing is whether it's repeated. When that behaviour is repeated, that's when it turns into bullying, and it's just being aware as a parent, because sometimes you just have a conversation and think, oh, you'll be right, Dale, you'll be fine.
Well, if you or anyone you know needs help, please call Lifeline on 13 11 14.